Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Blumberg. I will be presenting the NRO, NC, or ASO/AC, depending on which organization I'm speaking with, and we'll explain that in a little bit. So the Icann ASO/AC Address Council, not Advisory Council, in the ARIN region, the AC is referred to as the Advisory Council, and when we're talking about Icann, it's the Address Council. We are 15 members from all of the regions. There's 3 members per region. 2 are elected, 1 is appointed. So in my case, I was one of the appointed. Jason Schiller, wave Jason, and Louis Lee are both of the elected members for the ARIN region. And it's on a staggered 3-year term in our region. So we have all of the different regions on the NRO Number Council. And one of the main focuses of the NRO Number Council is to provide people to serve on the Address Council, the Icann ASO/AC. That is our main focus. We meet monthly by teleconference. We meet annually at the first Icann meeting each year to have a face-to-face meeting, workshops, etc. And that just concluded in Copenhagen 10 days ago or so. Okay, so here's a list of all of the people that are on the ASO/AC and their terms that are coming due. This year was actually a little bit of a change. For the first time in 9 years, we had a new chair, and it switched from Louis Lee, who's been the chair for many, many years, to Felice. And Louis, wherever you are in this room, I'd like to actually thank you for your 9 years of service as a chair. Yes, and your hat. And 8 years of your hat. As somebody who's been on a number of volunteer bodies, herding 15 people is difficult. Herding 15 people from around the world is monumental, and it's quite an achievement. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do a meeting every month. The meetings are all minuted, so you can go to the website, which we'll have later on, and actually sort of see the types of things that we are discussing. Since the ARIN meeting, the last ARIN meeting in October, we've had 4 teleconferences and our face-to-face meeting. We also have a number of procedures in place to allow for emergency meetings if they're required. Thankfully, that has not been the case for quite a while. So we don't develop policy. It's a very important part of what the ASO/AC does or doesn't do. The main point of the ASO/AC is to make sure that when there is global policy, it is handled appropriately and correctly and by the procedures for each of the regions. And then that goes up towards Icann, and there's a nice little slide that's going to come up in a minute. But we aren't there to write policy. No policy wonking goes on at the Icann meetings. That is done at the RIR level. We have the technology, just... There. So there is a wonderful graph that we put in showing how the workflow goes. If anybody in this room can have a great elevator way of explaining that, I would love it. Please come to me, because it does take a little getting used to all of the different sort of interactions between the aspects. The most important part is we're here to make sure that global policy is taken care of. The specifics beyond that, I wouldn't be too concerned about. If you do want to see the slide, it is on the website. Okay, so the most important part, there are no global policies currently in process. It's been, I think, 4 years since the last global policy. and we are always looking out for that next global policy that might come along. But the good news is there are no global policies at this time. Okay, what we wanted to do was sort of show you the kind of day we have at an Icann meeting, at a face-to-face. So we do updates. We talk about the transition. In this particular case, this year was the post-transition from IAN, and I'll talk about that more. The NRO does a report like the NRO did yesterday. There's sometimes talks. In this case, I would think it was Nurani did a talk on accountability, the accountability work that's being done at RIPE. We do open mic. We have a face-to-face meeting. We meet with the board, the Icann board, and that's actually a public session. So the world can see us, interacting with the Icann board. They will have questions for us. We will pose questions to the board, and then they will pose questions to us, and the community can see the type of interactions that go on in that regard. There was an ASO's chair with the GAC, the Governmental Advisory Committee, and Aftab Sadiq did a presentation to the fellows, trying to explain the numbers side of the world to a bunch, or a very large set of Icann fellows that had come. So it was definitely a long, fun discussion, just like we have with the fellows here. We did that for the fellows in Copenhagen. Okay, so one of the other tasks that the ASO-AC does is 2 Icann board seat selections. We've got to prepare for the next one, which is, I believe, a year away, give or take. So we've already started the process of setting the procedures, the timelines, reviewing the procedures that we have in place already towards the Icann board seat selection. There's a significant amount of work that goes in to a board seat selection, interviews, written questions, verifications. It's taken extremely seriously, and there's, from what I can see, a huge amount of work that goes into that seat selection. As was mentioned yesterday, there's a review of the ASO that is currently in progress. That's done once every 5 years, I believe. We're looking, we've, I believe, just had our voting procedures updated. One of the things that we do, and now I'm new. I started in, I believe, August, give or take. So I'm new to the whole process, and one of the things that I see we do a lot of is make sure that the procedures that we have are tested and tested and tested, even if they're not used, because you never know when they're actually going to be used, and if you don't know how they work, it makes it very difficult when you actually need to use it. So what we realized was there was an issue with how the voting procedures, when it came to seat selections, etc., were done. Were many people on the board, on the advisory address council, and so we actually came up with a whole new way. We then tested it. We ran it through, was it football players that we used as an example? Rugby players? Soccer players? Yeah. To run through and see, was the procedure, how we were going to vote, actually going to work the way we thought it was going to work? You can put something on paper, you can implement a policy, but until you actually work through that procedure, you're not going to know, and that's what we did there. I'm going to leave the best for last, the post-IANA transition, and community powers, and a whole bunch of other things related to the transition. Everything that we've done didn't change in October, wasn't supposed to change in October, but that doesn't mean that we don't review and revisit everything and how we do things, and were there any changes. So there's a lot of things that are going on. The one is community powers, and the NRO EC, or the Executive Council, is going to be hopefully giving us some information on the community powers. But post-transition, the Icann bylaws, and John, if I say it wrong, please let me know. The Icann bylaws required a substantial number of new things to happen, and we now need to just figure out how they're going to happen and who's going to do those things. And so it's, again, revisiting how we have done things in the past. And in regards to the community powers, it's a whole new set of things, and who handles them and how they get handled now need to be figured out. So that's the community powers side of things. And are there any questions? Wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your morning, everybody.